Welcome back. Thank you so much. If this is your first time listening to any of my videos, well, I say thank you, whatever brought you. And if this is your second or third or fourth, thank you for continuing subscribing, listening, supporting my channel here on Astrology Obsessed. I am astrologer, soul coach, and host of this show, Fox RedSky. So thank you so much. So today's topic, we're doing a real quick, brief understanding of what the planets are. So I know I have done a video that just kind of briefly hits on the sun, moon, and rising, and of course there's another video that I have where I talk about the houses, but this really goes into depth about all of the planets, and I give a brief summary about each one and my interpretation of them. So thank you so much again for listening. So again, we have learned that the sun is your personality. It is your ego. It is what gives you warmth and passion in this world. And it is a huge part of your zodiac, but it's not everything. It's just a tiny drop in the bucket of who you are. And there are layers and layers and layers of who you are. Follow me. And your moon, now that's our emotional reaction, that's our emotional body, that's our hidden world, that's within, that's a place that we share with people that we feel safe with, people that we are intimate with and trust. So that's our moon. And then we have Mercury. And Mercury is our mental communications. It's how we process information. Everybody processes information differently, and depending on the sign that it is in, we might be fast or slow, or maybe we digest things emotionally. It really depends on your chart. And I know for a fact that people who are more earth, they tend to have a more rigid thinking. You know, they have a little bit more steady thinking. People who have air sign, they're so fast, they're on to the next subject. You know, people with the an emotional or water sign is very emotional thinking. It's very intuitive thinking. It's very psychic thinking. I personally have my Mercury in Scorpio, so I tend to have a lot of, I'm very investigative and I'm penetrating and I'm really reading what's not being said in the room almost. It's like I'm paying attention to the subconscious text of the underlying thing. And I'm pretty fast when it comes to my processes, but I also, realize that there's lots of layers in that. So Mercury is your communication and your mental process, even how we speak. How we communicate. Do we talk very slow? Do we talk deliberate? Do we talk so fast? So these are all having to do with Mercury, right? Now Venus. Venus is having to do with value, love, and luxury, right? Venus is the planet that I associate, especially when I'm doing natal charts, with our love language, what we value, and everybody has a different love language, really. So Venus allows us to kind of really decide how we want to be loved and how we also want to give love. And these are the things that basically that we value within us, and that this is how we show people our love, our affection, and how we show value to them. And so a lot of people, when they're exploring and trying to figure out their compatibility, especially with a partner, I would always say look at your Venus sign, and you're really going to show what your love language is. And if you don't have similar love languages and you're speaking two different love languages, it might not be the greatest match. So that's something to think about and to ponder as your knowledge of astrology grows and grows. I don't think it's the only deciding factor when it comes to matches, but I definitely think it's very, very important. The next planet in our discussion of the planets is Mars. So Mars is, and it really has to do with action. It has to do with, our sexual drive. And it also has to do with kind of the things that upset us, make us mad, make us angry. So, so Mars is also going to say to me when I'm looking at somebody's chart, Mars is also going to show me how they handle their goals. You know, are they one to be, to have a lot of action, or are they one to have a lot of thought before they act? It's also going to show me their fighting style, like kung fu, ha! So when I look at someone's Mars, I'm going to see, okay, yeah, this person's going to argue me to death. I don't, or it's going to say, this person might get violent. They might actually hit me if I got into a fight with them. But it also shows to me their sexual style. Like, are they more of a sensual, earthy type? Are they more of an emotional, intuitive type? Are they all, you know, fire and like fast and quick, you know? And so these are all having to do with Mars, which has to kind of rules like the sexual energy, our drive, what gets us kind of fired up and angry. And so this is all Mars, and depending on where it is in your chart, it really can be advantageous, or sometimes it can be a little bit out of a detriment, you know, but it really is looking at all of the aspects and all the other planets around it too as well. So Mars. The next planet I'd like to talk about is Jupiter. So Jupiter, it is the second largest heavenly body in our solar system besides the sun. And it is a giant, it's a gas giant, it's growing every year, you know, it is going to continue to grow. And so Jupiter for me represents the abundance and the wisdom of this galaxy that all this has to offer. So Jupiter is where you're going, in your chart, what it represents is where you're going to have the easiest luck and the easiest time and the most wisdom and the most growth in your chart. So Jupiter is, you know, especially if it's around other planets, or depending on what house it is in, can provide you, you know, luck with love or money or whatever house it is in. That's going to really say to me, okay, yeah, this person's super lucky at attracting lots of partners or lots of business opportunities. So that's what I look at when I look at someone's Jupiter. I'm thinking, wow, this is the wisdom that they are coming in to bring and expand. This is the area where their mind's going to grow the most and where they're going to have the most growth in this lifetime. The next planet is Saturn. I know a lot of people, there's a negative connotation towards Saturn. There's a negative feeling towards Saturn. Saturn to me, you know, I always feel like it has to do with our karma in this lifetime. It's like the karma contracts that we've had in this lifetime. This is where we've decided, I want to grow in this life. Before we incarnated into this body and we've had our soul contracts, we were saying, you know what, this is the area where I need to grow. So this is also where there's going to be the longest lasting foundation, wherever it is in your chart. I know that a lot of people have heard of their Saturn return. And for me, if you haven't learned what you're supposed to up to your Saturn return, you will get a smack by the universe, as I call it, because you're going to have to wake up. Like, that's, you know, I believe that Saturn returns every 27 to 31, 2 years or something like that. It's an optic, you know, it's not a perfect circle. So Saturn, but it's also one of our greatest teachers. It's usually also, to me, when I see it in someone's chart, it also represents someone who had a lot of wisdom to share, like a grandfather or a grandparent. Definitely somebody with a lot of, and you know, depending on where it is in the chart, it also can mean a lot of restriction. And restriction means that you have to grow past that restriction. But it's not going to be the fast, quick energy of Mercury or even the easy luck of Jupiter. It's going to be, but it's also what's going to last. This is going to be something that lasts a lifetime in your life. So that's how I think of our dear Saturn. Next we have Uranus. Now again, these outer planets, these are more generational. You know, these are things that this is something that's affecting whole generations. But where it is in your chart still plays a huge, you know, part in influencing your personality and your behaviors and the things that are going to get you fired up. And Uranus, to me, is like the rebel of the planets. It's definitely bringing with it, like, how can we make this better? It kind of goes against the establishment, you know. It's more of like, the rebel, and that has that rebellious energy, you know, that Aquarian energy that's trying to shake the system up and see what's not working, what's not authentic, what's not really holding that true value. So, and that's what every generation does, right? Is it's like tears down the old system. Oh, that system doesn't work. Let's bring in a new system that has more, you know, that's where we have our big revolutions. That's when we have our big inventions. And, you know, people who have, depending on your chart, can be very heavily influenced by Uranus. And they can be the ones that have, depending on their placement, the inventors, the ones that are coming up with really unique, culturally aware, you know, just things that really first of their kind, you know, very maybe a lot of times people who have a lot of Uranian influence, they also have, it's basically somebody who's, you know, before their time, because it's so out there and so kind of unique that it just kind of, it wasn't, you know, wasn't ready yet. The old paradigm was still kind of in place before they came to arrive, and now all of a sudden that's the new thing to do, right? So that's Uranus. I'm sure that there's, you know, more I could talk about it, and I probably will in other videos, but that's a small summary. The next planet that I would look at is Neptune, and I always have, for me, Neptunian energy is, you know, it is and remember, everything has its positive and everything has its negative. There's no, you know, perfect, it's all yin and yang. It's all about the balance, you know, it's a flip coin. So with Neptunian energy, it has the ability to tap into some of the more divine, higher conscious, spiritual, psychic realms. It also has this ability to also be living in a fantasy world. So it's like almost where, you know, you have a little delusions or delusions of grandeur, and maybe you're not facing reality, and you're not living in the you know, the present, and you're so far in the past or so far in the future that you're not really able to kind of do that. So the Neptunian energy, Neptune, definitely wherever it is in your chart, is going to bring you a lot of creativity, a lot of psychicness, a lot of you know, beauty. And this again is another planet that's in the outer, more of the outer planets. It has a long rotation before it switches into another sign, so it's another generational thing. But how it impacts you is really where it's placed in your chart. When you were born, where was it in one of the houses, and what is it close to in terms of the other planets. So yeah, I love Neptunian energy, and I hate it. It's a love-hate relationship, because I like to have a little bit of a practical view on things, but I also am very psychic and intuitive. So it's like finding that balance between, you know, being in a crazy bin and speaking, you know, talking about some weird stuff that just doesn't exist, and then actually connecting with divine source and being able to like live in your highest good and really be a servant for the people, be a Mother Teresa, be somebody who's of that universal divine mother love, you know, for a better word. So that's Neptune. And then the next planet that I would talk about is Pluto. Pluto is Scorpio is, you know, ruled by Pluto and by Mars. And Plutonian energy is similar but not the same to Saturn energy. I think Pluto works a little bit more drastically and fast. It has definitely a lot of transformational qualities to it, because Pluto wants you to learn the lessons that you're meant to learn. It's wanting you to let go of the fear surrounding it. It wants you to step into your power, and in a way that's not so much having to be from ego. So a lot of times, depending on where it is in your chart, it can cause a lot of, you know, kind of like the Tower card, where you are basically, it's coming to an end and being reborn, and coming to an end and being reborn. It has very much of that Phoenix energy, or I would very much put Plutonian energy or Pluto's energy to that of a phoenix, where it, you know, dies in the ashes and then is reborn from the flames, you know. And so if you don't hold on to something so tightly that it like, you know, that it can crush you spiritually, but if you can like just hold it in your hand, you can really master that Plutonian energy, that Pluto energy, because you have let go of your fear, you've let go of some of your attachment, and now you can be with it, and versus trying to either conquer it or run from it. So I know that's kind of interesting, but that to me is my personal experience with Pluto and that Pluto energy. And where it is in your chart really also says where are you gonna have the most having to start over and start again. And I did compare it to Saturn. And the reason why I compare it to Saturn, because I feel like Saturn is a great teacher, and so is Pluto. And both of them can be very hard teachers, because they could both kind of cause whatever is not being authentic and doesn't have a good foundation to just crumble away. And I feel like Pluto does it a little faster. Like, I mean, Saturn sometimes takes, I mean, it's a more of a diligent teacher, where Pluto is more of like, psh. So, and again, it all depends on everyone's individual chart. You know, there's so many factors that come into play, but I was really just trying to give you a small little taste, an understanding of the planets. So, you know, the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. These are all heaven in the sky above us, these heavenly bodies, these celestial bodies that have influenced us for thousands of years. And so I thank you so much for listening to my channel. I appreciate anything that you want to share with me too. If there's something that I left out, or you felt like I maybe wasn't getting the most accurate description, please feel free to comment in the section below. I send you all the warmth and the love from my heart to your heart, and I hope you're having a beautiful, blessed day wherever you are.